everybody, Ben Choi, or Space Meat, here again with another video on foam armor making. So this one is going to focus on the assembly portion of it, where you're cutting out the foam and gluing it together. So I'm going to give you a rundown of some of my cutting, gluing, tracing techniques. So first thing is, I've got a nice test hunk of foam here, and I'm going to show you how to trace the pepakura bits and I guess cut them out. So I've got two just example shapes I've made here, a rectangle and a corner piece here with a little sharp edge, which I'll show you. And so, let me see here. Oh, here's a cutting mat. Trust me, as you can see by how horribly white this thing will save your desk. I recommend getting one. Alright, most people like to use a straight edge, or what's it called? A X-Acto knife, whereas I prefer this hot knife. It's plugged in right now, as you can see by the what's it called, orange light on the knife. Be very careful around these things. They're very hot. They can burn. The entire barrel is hot, and you know, I tend to keep mine over here on the side when you plug. Wash your arms, especially since see I'm left-handed. I have a scar right here from when I bumped into the barrel. So, my mistake, your lesson. Okay, so as I was getting back to it, X-Acto knife. People like X-Acto knives, but they're kind of hard to cut foam. Here, let me just show you. There we go. Yeah, it's not exactly very easy here. I'm just, because I want to demonstrate it also. Take some force. There we go. And they don't exactly leave with the smoothest of cuts. Okay, here we go. Whereas if I were to use a hot knife, straight and fast, there we go. Notice it just cuts right through. And it's very smooth, so let me see here. This is the edge from the X-Acto knife, and this is the edge from the hot knife. I'm sure you can tell makes a nice clean cut. Much smoother. Alright, so moving on to that. So once you've, printed out and cut your pepakura, either with X-Acto knife, or if you want to really cheat, use a craft robo or something, you can just, lay it out on here onto your foam, Sharpie, and trace out the edges. So I'm just going to trace this out right now. There we go. Benefits of left-handed, you can actually see what I'm doing. Left power. Alright, in any case, so you can see I've got a outline here that matches the rectangle. I'm just using basic shapes, but obviously it's going to your pepakura is going to have much more complex shapes, so I'm just trying to keep this simple. So this is where your straight edge comes in. Now, earlier you saw me slice right across, and that made a nice, quick, clean cut. But, we're human beings. I don't think I can cut straight perfectly all the time very quickly. This is what helps me keep it. Because I've had many cases where I try to cut by hand. My hand kind of wavers, and you end up with little squiggly lines. It's not as pretty. This will keep it right. Because, the geometry of all these faces are always just, consisting of a bunch of lines from point to point to point to point. So having straight edge allows you to just connect the points and cut. So you can see right here, I'm going to line it up with this corner to this corner, and just cut along, use the ruler as a guide as a quick swipe, see? So, next one, and cut, and we'll just move up to the next one, and cut, and finally here. There we go, and there we go. Rectangle. Alright. So, next I'm going to just have a special note here on corner pieces, these sharp points. And I'm just going to draw one out to illustrate to you. Okay. Now, normally, I learned this over time, when you are doing a cut on a corner, you should be cutting, towards the corner. So from here to here and from here to here. If you cut away from the corner, from here to here or from here to here, on your second cut, you tend to make the edge curl or carve away. It just won't be as sharp. I'll just demonstrate right now. So I'm going to make a corner cut. So you start here and cut towards the corner. There we go. And we'll go from here There we go. Nice sharp corner. Well, good enough. I just want to show you the corner anyhow. See, nice sharp corner. Now, if you were to do it the other way, I'm just going to demonstrate that right now. Okay, yeah. If you wanted to cut basically, yeah, you cut towards the corner. If you cut away from the corner, that's not so good. I'll just show you right now. Okay, here we go. So, okay, first cut is always fine. The second cut is a little more awkward because, here we go, because the corner is so thin, it's going to get caught on the edge of the knife and bend a little. There we go. And you're going to lose the sharpness of the corner, so I'm going to cut this out and show you here. There. So you can see, here we go. Here's a good corner. Here's the screwed up one where I cut the wrong direction. So you can see, especially head on, it's kind of rounded right here because the edge of the corner kind of got caught and warped as I cut the wrong way. So, you know, tip on how to cut sharp corners. Alright, so that's basic cutting technique. Let me just clean this up here. I'm going to show you a few specific things or more, I guess, advanced assembly techniques. Alright, so I've made here a nice reach thigh and a nice reach shin. As you know, they come in pairs, and I have not, made the other half or pieces yet, so I'm going to make a few select bits of these pieces to show you some of the techniques I use. So we are going to start off with the shin, and we're going to start with the front plate here. Now, I've already cut out all the pieces in a laser cutter to save some time, so I'm just going to grab this piece. And this is also, at this point, you should very much want to have Pepicura open, so you can, you know, refer to the model, take a look at it, see how this is. There we go. See, okay, so this piece is that piece. Where did it go? It's there. I need left and right, so I'm going to go find those pieces. Give me a second. There they are. Alright. Yes. And then helpful lay them out to each other. Alright, so now, as you can see, these pieces fit together. They don't really look it when they're flat, and, well, that's because they also have to curve a little, so I'm going to show you. As you can see, this does not really fit at all, does it? Yeah, not at all. Instead, what you're going to have to do is trim off this edge so it can stick together. So I'm going to, let me just, make sure I did that right. Okay, I'm going to show you right now. Basically, with your hot knife, here we go. You want to saw along the edge, so I'm going to take it and hold it at an angle. Now, depending on the sharpness of the angle, because you can see right here, it's supposed to look like that, and, oops, here we go. Obviously that is not going to stick together, so you need to trim this off. This foam is very forgiving to mistakes, and you don't have to be hyper precise, especially because foam flexes, foam moves. Hot glue is also a good filler, so I can just say hold it kind of at an angle. I usually hold it about, I guess my natural tilt's like 45 degrees. Only if I know if something's like a really severe angle do I like purposely, tilt at crazy angles. But most of the time, just about a 45 degree works. So you stick it in there, and you just kind of go to sawing motion like this. See here, and you can see the knife is just kind of traveling along the upper edge. Let me just almost through. There we go. And I'm just going to hold it up here. You can see the cut goes from here to here. So now I've got this piece, and I can just, there we go. Ta-da! It's a nice little bevel. And let's see, according to Pepicura, it's this hunk. Now, well, they're going to fit together. See, if I were to glue it. Kind of. Well, now you're like, oh, but because of this curve, I think I picked a way too complicated piece because there's several things you have to do. Because of this wonderful curve here, see, at least it fits better, but you also need it to curve. So let me just finish off the other end here, and I'll show you what to do for the curve. Okay. Here we go. Now, if you're wondering how I know when to do these cuts and things like that, it really is just because, you know, the peppercurve pattern is built for paper, not, you know, foam. You kind of just have to use your personal judgment as to when these pieces stick together. Let me just get rid of this extra piece here. And so I spend a lot of time when I'm initially building just kind of like, okay, so this goes here, this does not fit, okay, so I need to cut a hunk. And, you know, usually when I have a second one, I kind of use it, this is a reference. When did I cut it? I cut it here, I cut it here, okay, good. And I can look into it. In fact, I have to preemptively cut for the next one, but I'll do that later. So now we're ready to assemble, but as you can see, there's kind of a slight curve to it. So how do you get that curve? Well, basically, I'm going to burn grooves in the back at the points where it curves, so I'm going to go find that right now. I will demonstrate that, and you'll see what exactly I mean here. I just need to mark them off. Sorry. Like I said, I think I picked a bad piece to show you guys where exactly... Okay, there we go. Because it needs to curve at 2 points along the thing, here and here. So you just saw me mark it off. So basically, this is where a hot knife is really useful. The barrel of the hot knife will melt the foam, or at least burn it off when it comes in contact with it. So I tend to do a sawing motion across. Let me see here. Let's take here and saw. You may also want to have good ventilation. This kind of gives off really stinky, burny foam smell. Maybe actually you want to hold your breath. I'm not sure if it's healthy for you. You can see I have burned a groove here in the back, which allows it to bend like this. So it's going to conform right here, see, to this curve right here. So there's a similar one notch right here, which I do believe I already made. Yes. Yeah, I did. And I'm going to just line it up. There it is. Okay. And you want to clean off the ashes there. In case you're wondering, I have a trash can underneath the camera. And all my... It's good to have a trash can around. The stuff can get messy quickly. Alright, so... Ta-da! Now it will bend here, and it will bend here. And it will just fit in perfectly. So, time for gluing. Glue gun. As I said before, don't skimp on the glue. You know, if you don't... You want to survive wearing this stuff, and it does not last very long if you don't have much glue. You need it to survive you walking, running, moving. It doesn't sit still, force. So you can see I'm just putting, you know, nice globs of glue on the edge. There you go, nice clean cut. And then just apply slowly. Yeah, you also want to just try to keep it clean, avoid overlap. Try not to burn yourself with hot glue. That's never good. I've noticed when I tend to work, I get like an insulating layer of hot glue on my fingers because I keep trying to clean off excess and stuff. So I just try to clean it off. So just keep it pressed until the glue sets. I think I picked a bad piece to work with. This one's kind of complicated, but it's going to set. There we go. See, nice curve. Bends perfectly well. So going to do that to the other one. And just set it along the inside edge. Go. Don't skimp on the hot glue. Just very carefully apply the glue, and there we go. This is seeking out a little. Yeah, see? I try to get it as clean as possible. The good news about foam, and hot glue, in fact, is if you totally, absolutely screw up, you can heat it up again, and or at least heat up the area with the glue gun. Just rub it along there, or the hot knife, and stick it in the edge, and it will melt the hot glue, and you can pull it apart. I find it messy, and I don't really like doing it, but at least it's an option. So there you go. So here you go. See, piece of the shindig. Ta-da! Alright, see, another hunk of the shin I want to show you, which also uses the groove technique, is right here. As you can see, this is actually a flat piece. Let me go grab it. It's one continuous piece. Ta-da! And you're like, how do I bend it? This is not going to really stay in this shape like that. Well, the answer is obviously the grooves I burned earlier, so I'm just going to do that again. So it's always best to follow the geometry. So in the original Pepakura pattern, no, screensaver. There we go. Not sure if you can see it. There we go. There are lines. You can actually probably see the red lines from here to here and here to here, which, if you look in the model, you can see that's exactly where it bends, so it corresponds to the line from here to here, here to here. I know it might not be easy to see in the camera, but if you look closely at it, when you cut it out, you'll see easily there's points that correspond to. So, simply, I'm just going to use my hot knife, line up the points. There we go. And ta-da! Look at that bend. Let me grab that. See? Nice bend. Alright, so I will move this away. We have a few other things to assemble. Okay. Next is going to be, I'm going to show you parts of the shin, or that was the shin, this is the thigh. There's a few important bits I need to show you that are kind of unique to foam. Because, when you're doing Pepakura, like, see this edge that's lowered right here? This edge needs to be built out of paper. Like, what's it called? You actually have to take the paper, fold it, glue it, and then glue the other piece. It's a really tiny, tiny piece of paper you have to glue in. Foam, being naturally thick, you don't have to deal with it. In fact, as you can see, all I did was just lower where it's connected to. So I guess the best way to describe it, well, here, I'm just going to make two pieces. There we go. So, basically, if this were Pepakura, or resin, here's, the edge, here's the other piece. Oh no, there's an interconnecting piece. I'm going to have to, well, in this case, let me get there we go. In this case, I would have to have the interconnecting piece and then go like that, which then connects to this piece. Yeah, that's a pain. Imagine doing that all over the place. Instead, with foam, you have this nice thick piece, so all you can do is offset it like that. Ta-da! Edge. So that's exactly what I did here for this thigh, which I'll show you. Another thing to note is, as you can see right here, there's kind of gaps right here, so I'm going to show you how I joined these gaps without, what's that called? Without cutting into this, which, that's kind of a technique. Let me grab the piece. Here we go. Here's the foam piece. And here's the other foam piece. I think about it, this was kind of also a bad thing to show you right now, but yes, I'm going to. Oh, yeah, this is the other thing. See, as you can see here, there's a bunch of different pieces I need to show you. But okay, as you can see right here, there's this inset here in the pattern I printed out. It kind of just like this. So how do I get that? Well, it's pretty simple, really. Let me just cap that off. This out of the way. Ruler. Apparently the cutter didn't go all the way through, so I'm just going to help finish this off. There we go. I'm sure. Okay. There we go. Yeah. Wow. Laser cutter sucks sometimes. I have to adjust the power settings to make it. Alright. Ta-da. So we need to join this piece with this piece. As you can see, I need to do another beveled cut. But because of this little inset here that's a hollow empty space like that, I shouldn't cut all the way into here. So how do I make a nice cut? Well, simply put, before I cut all the way across, I put a straight vertical cut at where I think the gap is going to be. So right there. Just a straight line. And so now when I cut across, let me start there. There we go. When it comes apart, it's going to be, there we go. So you can see it left a straight edge as I cut across. There's like a little bit here, and you know, it leaves it intact. It's better than trying to cut across here, because then you get some real messiness, like, you know, it's kind of, it just won't look as nice. So that's my technique for that. Let me see here. Apparently I still have to do this, so I'm going to save time and just skip that for now, because you've already seen me glue it together. The other thing I'm going to show you right now is how to get a curve, because you can see this is curved. Now, you can obviously just kind of bend it by hand, kind of, there we go. It'll stay-ish, but then when you glue it, you know, there's pressure. Now, the heat gun I talked about earlier, basically, when you heat it up, the foam becomes a little more malleable, and once it cools down, it tends to stay in the shape it was. So, Harbor Freight heat gun, just point here. You'll notice it's actually flattening out again, because as I heat it, it actually softens it up, and now it's much more pliable. There we go. So I just curl it. Don't be afraid to manhandle your foam, it will bounce back. Why am I doing this? Here we go. Just. And you just have to kind of keep working it while it's warm. Okay, there we go. You can feel it. It's kind of cooling. It's hitting room temperature-ish. There we go. Ta-da! Curve. So, you know, if you were to really bend it while it's warm, you can get like a really severe curve, because it's supposed to fit a thigh. I don't really have to do it that way. This makes it a lot easier for gluing. You know, you can make nice curves. So that is a curve. Alright, and let's see. One final thing I guess I should be showing you are, let me see here. Well, another foam cheat is, see this inset right here with all the little various bits and pieces that are raised and all of that? You can totally cheat that with foam, because it's made out of one piece. Let me see here. I've got the equivalent piece right here. So you can see in the original pattern, it's printed out, and this area right here corresponds to this. This is actually the negative space. So when I cut this thing out, see, ta-da, this is what's left over. Because, you know, you're working with, you know, this extra foam, and if you do your cuts well, you can repurpose pieces, or because pieces are purposely removed, because otherwise in the original thigh, this thing is a nightmare in Pepakura to look at. It's like a bunch of little itty-bitty pieces. And the foam pattern, I just said, forget it. I'm just going to do this by hand. So, you see, here's the leftover piece. I can just take it, line it up to the upper edge. There we go. And I kind of messed that up, but don't worry. As I said, foam is forgiving. Foam is flexible, so you can jam it, resize it, and, you know, it's very helpful in that. You see, I have a little extra bit I need to cut off. There we go. Perfectionist in me. So I got this piece. So how does this become this? Well, quite simply, I just draw a bunch of lines in it and cut it. So I'm going to show you right now. Let's see, as I recall, half a cent. Again, each one of these is half a centimeter. And so I'm just going to cut. I should just, why don't I? There we go. So cut and cut here, cut there, line that up, and there. Okay, so I just made some notches so it's easier for me to measure out where to cut. So I can just line up my ruler here. Ooh, wow, be careful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so now I've sliced that up. And how am I going to get these raised bits? Well, very simply, here we go. Just separate them out and flip every other one upside down, which, now I think about it, this one should be the upside down one. There we go. And then this one's right side up. And then this one is upside down. This one is right side up. Yeah. There we go. And upside down. And so now I can just take it and just glue it together. So just put it here on the edge, and then take this little piece. So this is, you know, the simplicity I told you about of, because of the thickness of foam, you can raise and lower pieces quite easily and have things that are inset or sticking out slightly. Very useful. Can you imagine the pain of doing this with, like, paper? Uh-oh, I flipped it upside down, didn't I? There we go. So, there you go. And then I'm just going to add to the next piece. Ow, that burned. Lesson, kids, do not touch hot glue directly. That burned. Ow. But like I said, when I work with these, I tend to develop a small skin of hot glue, which kind of insulates me against future accidents. Let's see, there we go. And then finally, last piece. There we go. And now, oops, there we go. We have a completed piece there that I will then stick straight into right here. Now, I will complete construction of this later because I have to double check if I need to do any kind of what's it called, beveled cuts or anything like that, but I think you get the basic idea. Let's see here. I think that pretty much covers general assembly, tips, bevels, curves. Yeah. I would probably go into a little more specifics with other certain parts later, like helmets, chest plates, magnets, mounting, all of that fun stuff. But I think that pretty much covers basic foam assembly, and I guess until next time. Got any questions, of course, you can leave messages in the comments or message me on my Facebook profile page. Links in the description, I believe. So, thanks again. See you next time.